Hi everyone, this is Economist, and I'm here to talk about my Civ 6 Wonders tier list video, some different content I'm doing. I'm revising the tier list from the ancient era uh, that I did last time, and I'm going to be covering that and the classical wonders. This format I'm doing is I'm going to organize my thoughts a little more, so I've made a little presentation for you. Uh, so starting off with the ancient era, uh, there are main goals, and it's just building settlers and growing. And a lot of wonders are a distraction from this. Some wonders look pretty good. They do have good effects, but they're pretty expensive to build, and you should probably be doing something else with your time. When you're in doubt, just build another settler or something. Okay, so at the bottom, I put Stonehenge. So if you're playing a faith game, you need holy sites later to build temples. Uh, the only reason you build Stonehenge is if you really want to profit first. But there's lots of great beliefs if you get a religion a little late. And the holy site is 54 production prayer site project. You can run that. You could build shrine for 70. The faith yield is okay. And you're not settling. It's terrible. The technology requirement for astrology, that's fine. There's games where you go astrology first, but generally you're not doing it to build Stonehenge first. You just don't need to do that. Waste about 180 production. Do something else with your time. Great Bath. Okay. Flooding along the river. You get less food in production from flooding, but you get faith every time it floods. And that it's okay, but you could argue the food and production yield is better. And often you're building over your floodplain districts with aqueducts, dams, canals, industrial zones, so you can get fun adjacency bonuses. Um, the +3 housing is good, but +1 amenity for that housing is for that city you build it in is pretty underwhelming. It's like 1/4 of the power of a luxury. It's unlocked very early. It's unlocked with pottery, so that means the AI often beats you to it at higher difficulty levels. Instead of spending a higher 80 production on this, you could build a granary, build a settler. That also helps you grow your empire. You don't need 3 housing from this very expensive um, production. Also, a lot of different tiles want to be along the river. Again, you want aqueducts, dams, canals, but also like commercial hubs want space on the river as well for their adjacency. So this is kind of taking up valuable real estate. Not necessary. Hanging Gardens increases growth by 15% in all cities, and you have to build it next to a river. Again, it's the same kind of problem with placement. A lot of things want the river. Uh, Going for irrigation as the detour. Um, Normally, you get irrigation if you have some early plantation luxury that you want, because your early workers are being used to hook up luxuries, food, bonus food tiles, strategics, and you don't want to build too many workers early, as we'll talk about later. Um, so if you're not doing that and you're trying to build this wonder, maybe you're building a builder and you're chopping your forest to get this. It's not the best. +2 housing, you can get that from a granary. The AI seems to go for this wonder, so good luck rushing it. And 15% growth. I mean, this is a good effect, so I put it a little higher than F tier. Mm, but it also helps you grow is making your cities happy. So go settle and go hook up luxuries, go find other continents, all that. Don't get boxed in. Conquer this from an AI or something if you really want it. Okay, you can pause here and take a look at this little detour on amenities. You'll notice that Gathering Storm made it harder to make cities happy and ecstatic because it used to be very easy to make your cities happy and you just always got like +10% like pop growth or something. So, um, Yeah, if your cities are displeased, then your population growth decreases by 15% in Gathering Storm. So you're negating the entire effect of, the Hanging Gardens if this happens. Or at least for that city, you're negating the effect. So what you want is, try and focus on growing smart and hooking up luxuries, finding luxuries, unique luxuries, finding other civs you can trade luxuries with. That's better. That's a better use of your time. Uh, and you can think more about this, but there's a reason why amenities they're a little bit harder to get now than they were in vanilla when the game first released. Okay, because amenities are very powerful and they're pretty busted. So getting all those yields is just great. Oracle. Okay. Getting political philosophy is pretty important. The first player to get a tier 1 government gets more era score. Uh, Mysticism is a detour off of that. Maybe you're going a religious game and you're rushing to get temples, so maybe you go bottom heavy on the civics tree. Plus one culture, plus one faith. That part is underwhelming, and it's very expensive to build, and it wants to go on hills, and hills are like forest hills are the best terrain, in the game. So why would you ever build this? Well, the main effect, patronage of great people costing less, and plus 2 great person points for type. So imagine you have one campus, okay, no building, so you didn't build a library in it. So it's generating one great scientist point. And let's say you took the Divine Spark Pantheon to make it plus 2, and you get this Oracle, and it's plus 4, and you get Pingala with 2 promotions. You get the Grants promotion with your second one. And now you have plus 8 great science points because he has an ability that lets you get 100% uh, points generation. So you can stack this later with Great Library, or you can have the Classical Republic government for more great person points. Um, and the discount on patronage with faith can save a lot of money. A lot of times, there's some powerful, great people, and you want to buy them before someone else gets them. So if you have money or faith saved up, that could be really good. But if you get a discount with faith, that's really good. Um, but early great scientists are pretty weak, and Divine Spark is one of the weaker pantheons in the game, so it's not as valuable. It'll give you like point generation for great writers and prophets too. Um, you could make that work with a great library strat. We'll talk about later, but you need sort of a lot of setup for this strategy. In single player, you could just go wide, just expand more. You get settlers out, and then you can conquer it from an AI if they're on the same continent or something. In multiplayer, if you're getting suddenly a lot of, oh, I'm generating all these great scientists, uh, then if you're hogging all the great people, you're gonna become a target. So you can use the Oracle for strats. So there is value in it, and that's why I'm revising its rating upwards from last time. With the Hanging Gardens, I revised it down because the more I thought about it, the more I thought, amenities is more important. And I already think amenities are important. For Oracle, I'm moving it up because there are some very focused strategies you can do if you know what you're doing. But generally speaking, it's easier not to have to rely on this. Again, Oracle's 290 production. It's like the most expensive ancient era wonder. And the reason it's so expensive actually is because the Oracle had to be nerfed a little bit. So we'll talk about that later too. So yeah, very fun. But the Oracle comes so early. You need mysticism for it. You can get that pretty early. But you should be settling in the early game. So uh, instead of getting Pingala, just get Magnus and get the provision promotion so settlers don't take up a population. That's a little safer, more reliable. You don't have to worry about, setting up. If you were to like take Divine Spark and do all this stuff, and then someone else built Oracle before you, then you're stuck with like a subpar Pantheon belief, and that's not really good. Okay, pyramids. Very good wonder. I thought about more and I revised this rating upwards. So you're not building your on your desert tiles anyway. This is like half the benefit of serfdom policy card, but you get in the ancient era. It will stack with serfdom later. And masonry early is very viable. Plus two culture is whatever, but the builder charges is what makes this so valuable. It's only 220 production too. Pretty good. Um, So in a normal game, the cost of building a worker is 4x plus 46, where x is the number of workers built, bought, or received for free. Captured workers don't count. So each builder is 4 more production next time you do it. That sounds like a little bit, but you should not be fooled by that. More worker charges on a builder means less builders you have to build to improve or harvest the same number of tiles, so you'll be building less builders over the course of a game. The benefit of 5 worker charges instead of 3 for, serfdom is not just I get 66% more charges on my worker, so it's a 66% benefit. What happens is, let's say someone builds 10 workers before serfdom, and then some guy continues not slotting in serfdom. He wants to put something else in his economic policy slot. And then someone does slot in serfdom whenever they want to build stuff and they get builders out. So after 80 build charges, the person who slotted in serfdom gets around 4.2 builds for every 100 production versus the person who didn't do that, who gets 2.1 builds. So this is like a 100% benefit, not a 66% benefit. And then this 100% benefit, it sticks around for it hovers around that number the further you go building builders, right? And then with things like Qixin Huang or like pyramids or the Liang governor, that can get you an extra builder charge. This comparison becomes even more nuts. So build charges are really good. Serfdom is one of the most powerful civics that you're trying to get early game. You build out, you settle, and then when you get serfdom, you switch it up. You start pumping out builders and improving all the tiles that you settled. So all that land you claim, you focus on improving it. And then that's when you start scaling all of like the mid-game yields, like your science, your culture, your everything. Okay, so it's the transition from early to mid-game, really. Serfdom is really, really good. Serfdom is the most powerful card until like New Deal, when you get democracy later. Maybe that's not totally true. I mean, I'll have to think about that statement a little more. But serfdom is really good for a very long time. Serfdom can be upgraded later to Public Works card, where you get +2 extra build actions, and you get the +30% production towards, building workers. So, very good. Okay, so to do some math, let's say you have 10 builders before serfdom, and that's going to cost you 680 production in total. Or you could build 5 builders before serfdom just to hook up the main things you want: luxury, strategics, bonus food. And then you build just 3 more builders after slotting in serfdom. So you still get 30 build charges in total, but this way you get 512 production. So it costs you 25% less just from not having to build those 2 extra builders. Is it worth delaying building more builders early to get the benefit from serfdom? Yes, because you want to settle early. You settle, you claim land so others can't do it, you don't get boxed in, all that. Um, and then you can improve all the land you got. And then my highest tier for early game Ancient Era Wonders is Temple of Artemis. You can easily get the benefit of 1 or 2 extra luxuries, right? If there's 8 different camps, pastures, plantations, whatever, then you place this very carefully, you can get a big benefit from Temple of Artemis. And since there's only 4 luxuries on a continent, right, there's a hard cap on the number of unique luxuries that can give you amenities in the game. So just having a way of getting more amenities like this, and especially getting it really early, making the core of your empire very happy, This is very nice. This is very, very nice. You can change which city works a camp tile, and that will change which city gets the amenity. So that's very flexible. And this is just a cheap wonder to produce with a good tech requirement you want anyway. It's archery. If the AI is coming at you early and on higher difficulties, they do that. You want archery. If you're playing against players and you're worried about them being too aggressive, you want archery. Okay, archers are very good units, very cheap. Um, you slot it in with conscription, and they're basically free upkeep. Um, and the placement rule for Temple of Artemis is it just wants to be next to a camp, so you often have a lot of flexibility with placing this wonder as well. Plus for food, you can get that from improving bonus food tiles. That it's just a nice bonus. Plus for food means you don't have to use a citizen working a tile to get that food. You just get plus 4 food. That's nice. And then plus 3 housing. So better than a granary. It's like getting a okay neighborhood, and you don't have to build the stinky neighborhood district that can, AIs can or other players can do a spy operation and spawn a bunch of barbarians in your neighborhood. That's not fun. Um, yeah, plus 4 food, not having to work a tile, plus 3 housing. Everything is good. This helps with growth. Amenities will help you with tile yields and growth. Totally worth getting a detour to get this wonder. Okay, classical era. So you thought you had escaped the expansion phase. Too bad. You should probably still be settling. And if you are not settling and you want to like help grow internally, then build granaries, build monuments for early culture. Uh, and some wonders are once again quite powerful. A lot of them are kind of mid or not so good. Um, but some of these are really nice. Going for them is a justifiable detour. And some of it's not much of a detour at all. And we'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, Great Lighthouse is at the bottom. Navy in Civ 6 is just very, very, very underwhelming. You know who has the biggest navy in the most single player games? It's barbarians. Or multiplayer games. Barbarians have the biggest threat to your coastal tiles. The AI doesn't really build blue water fleets. You're not gonna go into the modern era and the AI is gonna have like an aircraft carrier and like destroyers and submarines, and they're gonna like have this big invasion. Okay, in some older Civ games like 3 and 4, if you wanted to move land tiles across, you would have to put them on a boat and move that boat across. So the AI would at least have to build some navy to get to. Now, in Civ 6, the land units they just move on to the ocean after they unlock like seafaring or whatever. Not ocean, but coastal tiles. They can move without having to go on a boat. So the AI really doesn't need to prioritize naval units as much. And already in old Civ games, they didn't build a lot of navy. Navy was undertuned in old Civ games, and it's still undertuned for Civ 6. So the reason you build a fleet is you can put your planes on an aircraft carrier and use planes because planes are very good. The rules for placing Great Lighthouse is very needy. If I'm placing a harbor, I want it to be next to different food resources, and I'm not gonna like stomp out a crab's tile or something in order to place this Great Lighthouse, right? Um, and it's 290 production for like +1 movement on naval units. I mean, if your opponent gets this and you're worried about their navy, just you can play defensively with your navy. This is not too much of an advantage. Okay. Everything else is underwhelming too. +3 gold, that's okay. Great Admiral point, I don't care. Okay. Let's talk about trade routes for a bit. So, market and lighthouse. So, unlocking the commercial district and unlocking the harbor district, it's the same amount of science. These districts cost the same to produce, 180 production, And whether you build the market or lighthouse first, whichever one, you get one trade route. Um, but celestial navigation is a dead end. So why would you get harbor? The reason is because you get the lighthouse, and the lighthouse unlocks some housing. And even then, I'm still so even if I do go for this dead end, and I want the lighthouse for early gold from getting a trade route that way, uh, I do not want to get Great Lighthouse anyway. So let's talk about trade routes. Trade routes are the only way of building roads anywhere until like steam power. There's an exception with the late medieval era where you can use a military engineer to build a road, but it uses a build charge. So you can build two road segments and then you use up your military engineer. Terrible, terrible, inefficient. When you get steam power and you build railroads, it doesn't use a charge for the military engineer. So when you get to that industrial era, then you want military engineers to conga line behind each other on a road so that they can railroad efficiently and pump out railroads all throughout your civ. Okay. So when that happens, you need to have lots of roads in your empire. And that means you should be having lots of trade routes, having completed their paths. Um, yeah, unlike like every other Civ game, you can produce roads. You use a worker, you build a road. Okay, not this game. Trade routes, your only way of making roads until so much later. So oftentimes you don't even want to hard build a trade route. You want to buy it up if you have the money for it because they make roads, they connect your empire, they provide growth through internal trade routes, or they can provide money through external trade routes. They can give envoys because a lot of city states have some sort of quest. They're like, I want a trade route to me. Okay, so very good, very flexible. The only way of making roads. It's very hard to understate how important trade routes are. Uh, and this is all to say, I'm going around, I'm building my lighthouse, getting a trade route, and then I have all the requirements to go for a great lighthouse. I don't care. I just built my little lighthouse, and that's a good enough lighthouse for me. Okay. Um, I'm not going, you know, I'm not going great lighthouse. It's not good. Navy is not good in Civ 6. It's unfortunate. And speaking of trade routes, the Colossus, it's one teeny tiny tier above Great Lighthouse because it does give a trade route. Trade route is good. Um, it's got the same placement rule problems as Great Lighthouse though. This is a more expensive one to produce 400 production. Ugh. And shipbuilding is not a cool tech detour. You really want to build quadriremes? uh, okay, I guess. And you know what else gives an extra trade route? Building a commercial hub or harbor somewhere else, and then the city you wanted to build a Colossus in, build a settler instead. So, if Colossus gave more trade routes or something, that would be good. That would be much better. But as it stands, it does not do that. So, too bad. Okay, Machu Picchu. This is a little sacrilegious for me to put it so low. It does make placing some districts more flexible, so you get adjacency bonuses for commercial hubs, theater squares, and industrial zones for putting those next to mountains. That sounds really nice, um, but it's not as strong as you might think. Okay, you are making more districts compete for mountain spots that the campus and holy sites want, but you're not giving campus and holy site more flexibility. And if I'm putting my, like, let's say for example industrial zone, hiding it in a bunch of mountains, then it might be harder to get an aqueduct there. I'm not going to build a dam next to it. Okay. There's ways of getting good industrial zones, strong industrial zones, without having to like put them in the mountains somewhere. Okay. Oftentimes you can get like you have a triangle of three cities. All of them have like cool aqueducts, dams, and maybe even a canal in one of the cities, and then you have three really nice industrial zones, all benefiting from those adjacencies, and you can get a really, really good industrial core for your empire. Um, and you would rather do that than saying, "Oh, I'm gonna put my industrial zone next to like five mountains in the middle of nowhere." No, just save that for your campus or for your holy site. So the effect is good if you're spoiled for mountains, maybe. But there's other things you can do with your time. You can get great yields for your districts without this wonder. So it's not really necessary to go for. I find it's kind of underwhelming. Okay, the +4 gold, that's cool, I guess, but you're not building this 400 production wonder for that. And then engineering, I mean, that requirement's okay. Uh, you go for engineering to get crossbowmen later, so it's not a total waste of your time because crossbowmen are good. But this is a actually deceptively not very good wonder. I think it's pretty underwhelming. Terracotta Army. This you could even put it D tier. I put it like the bottom of C tier here. All units gain a promotion level. Archaeologists getting to enter foreign lands without open borders. That's the reason you get this one, this wonder. Because are you building Terracotta Wonder or Terracotta Army? Because you have a big army already? Why do you have a big army early in the game? In multiplayer, you want to scale early before you think too much about war. Because if you get into a protracted, costly war, even if you win, you're capturing like some undeveloped city because your opponent spent all this time building military to try and fight you. Okay, that's a waste of time. You'd rather they build up a nice city and they have lots of fun districts and they have careful adjacencies, and then you conquer that city. It might be harder, but you get a bigger reward out of it. And in the meantime, you are focusing on scaling early. Okay. Now, archaeologists being able to enter without open borders is very useful, including in multiplayer. Um, Archaeologists, I think the meta is like hands down, people don't want to build art museums really. Um, it's just like you keep generating great artist points and then you don't have places to put them unless you build more art museums, and that generates more great artist slots, and it just becomes much harder to have room in your empire to fit all of these. Whereas with archaeologist museums, you just build an archaeologist when you can, and you go pick up whatever you need when you have the uh, time to do it. You can buy archaeologists instead of having to wait for your great people points, your like great artist points to rack up that way. Okay, so people like archaeologists a lot better. And if you can take artifacts from other opponents so they don't get use out of their archaeologists, then that's really good for you. Okay, so that's why you build Terracotta Army, and that's kind of why I put it like C tier, because that benefit's pretty good. But everything else is kind of bad. Also, you need to have an encampment district to place this wonder, and we'll talk more about why that's kind of stinky unlocking iron. Because you prefer building encampments when you need the military engineers for railroads, but there's a little more to it. And we're gonna talk more about that with Jebel Barkal. This gives you iron per turn, 6 iron, and provides +4 faith to all your cities within 6 tiles. So if you place this carefully, you could get decent faith yields out of it. I think there's a better faith. There are better faith wonders in this era, but yeah, the faith is okay. It does require ironworking. So okay, first of all, you're not getting this wonder for iron. Go settle other places, and then hopefully you'll have iron that can be worked. Go build settlers. All right, don't build this wonder for iron. Terrible. Ironworking is not a good early tech because you need bronze working, and makes iron pop up. Iron might be where you wanted to place a district. If you place a district on top of where iron is, but you don't see it yet, then when you finish building that district, it will collect the iron from there. Okay, so you want to place the district down, and then you can collect your fun iron that way. But if you have like a really nice spot for your campus district, and then you research bronze working early for some reason, uh, and then it pops up right where you were gonna build your campus, then you will cry and you will be sad. Ironworking is also not necessarily on harder difficulties, really. If the AI is coming to bully you with swordsmen, get archers, sought in conscription, spam out warriors. Okay, you're gonna be okay. You'll live because the AI sucks at war. There's another reason you don't want to go down the path to ironworking too early for this wonder. Okay, so bronze working, whatever. We're going to talk about a mechanic that isn't explained anywhere in Civ 6. It's called district discounting. You can get a 40% discount on placing and producing a district under the right circumstances, except for Government Plaza, which only gets a 25% discount. And this applies to specialty districts. So no aqueducts, no neighborhoods. Specialty district is anything that counts towards a city's limit cap. So, campus, culture hub, industrial zone, commercial hub, all that. Okay, so let A be the number of specialty districts unlocked through civics and techs, and let B be the specialty districts of any type you finished building in your empire. And C, let that be the districts of the same type you finished or placed that you're trying to get a discount on. So let's say, I wonder if I can get a discount on building commercial hub. Okay, and then maybe you've built 0 of them in your empire so far, and you haven't placed it down yet. Okay, now if B is greater than or equal to A, so let's say I've unlocked the campus and I've unlocked the Faith District, the Holy Site. So I've unlocked 2 different districts, and I haven't unlocked any of the other district types yet. And then I've built 2 of the Holy Site districts, and now I'm thinking, what about a campus? Okay, so I've built 2 Holy Site districts, and 2 is greater than or equal to 2, the number of specialty districts I've unlocked. So that's the first condition met. Then I say 2 divided by 2 is 1, and that's greater than 0. So if I have built 0 campuses, okay, then the second condition is met because 1 is greater than 0. And that means I will get a 40% discount on building my first campus. All right. And if this is too much stinky math and it's obtuse, all this means is you don't want to research districts that you aren't planning on building. And the game encourages you to build districts. I have to fix this part of the presentation. It will help you build districts that you haven't built a lot of yet. So if you haven't built a campus, you haven't built a commercial hub or something, you are more likely to meet these 2 conditions, or meet the second condition at least. And the first condition is just saying, okay, if I'm unlocking every kind of district I want to build, okay, it's very hard to get district discounting under that circumstance. And all this means I don't want to unlock bronze working very much because it makes it harder to get district discounting for that first condition. Because I don't want to build military encampments. I don't care about getting a promotion on my military units. Okay, you know what gets you military promotions? Go out and fight a barbarian encampment. Also, go build a settler. I don't know. Do something else for your time. You just don't need ironworking. You don't need swordsmen. You don't need to go down the bronze working to ironworking path. Okay, so that's kind of why I put Terracotta Army, Jebel Barkal, lower on the list. Because I don't want to build an encampment district. I don't want to unlock the ability to build the encampment district, because that will make it harder to get district discounting on the other things I want, like commercial hub or harbor district, campus district, maybe, if I can get a good campus district somewhere. All right, that's a big detour, but it's important to explain it. Civ just doesn't explain this to you. Very, very weird mechanic. I didn't know about this until very recently. Now that I know about it, I'm like, oh, okay. It makes a lot of sense. Apadana. Okay, a lot of things want to be adjacent to my capital. And this is like, well, I want to be next to your capital. Okay, there's a lot of wonders later that are like, you got to build it next to your capital. Okay, you want districts to be next to your capital in a lot of cases. Aqueducts want to be next to your capital. Um, Commercial hubs, they want to be next to your capital. Everything, all the specialty districts can benefit from being next to your capital. Okay, so this is greedy. Um, Envoys are nice, but you get the envoys every time you build a wonder. So you have to commit to being like, I want to build lots of wonders. That's okay, I guess. Um, but if you're building wonders, you're not settling. So I don't like it. Also, the AI loves prioritizing this. So even though the requirement is political philosophy, and you want political philosophy for the tier one government, okay? Even though the requirement is very normal, and I like rushing political philosophy instead of like rushing getting the temple building, going bottom heavy on the civics tree. Uh, you just don't get this wonder very much on higher difficulties. It's pretty expensive. It comes earlier than some other wonders in this area, but it holds two great work slots. So this is still, you can use Apadana for some other strats. We'll talk briefly about that later. But in general, I think Apadana is kind of underwhelming. Go conquer this from someone else. um, okay, great library. Uh Great library is just one of those iconic wonders that's had such a place in the Civ series. In Civ 3, it is like far and away one of the best wonders. You're playing on deity or Sid difficulty in Civ 3. Great library can just unlock like 20 texts for you if you build it, and the AI doesn't go for it. So like in that game, great library is really good. Okay, Civ 5, great library, can unlock a new tech for you. It's really good in that game. I think Civ 4 it's still okay too. I haven't played that in a while. But okay, let's talk about it. In Civ 6, recorded history is the requirement. It's a big detour from getting feudalism. You have to go drama and poetry, which unlocks the culture district. That makes it harder to do some district discounting stuff. And recorded history. Okay, those two civics is 285 culture base. And boosting drama and poetry requires building a wonder already. So that's even more time away from expanding with settlers and doing early game expanding. So you're planning on building a wonder and building this one? Boosting recorded history requires two campuses, but other districts should be taking priority because more text is making it more expensive to build districts. The cost of building districts literally goes up the more text you have researched. So you would rather prioritize culture early than science early. Okay. So getting the boosts for both of these detours is kind of questionable. And defensive tactics and is needed before you can get feudalism. So you're spending time away from getting those two civics, and those two civics are 475 culture in Gathering Storm expansion. I think feudalism is a little cheaper in vanilla. Okay, and this is so much production for an okay to mediocre effect. If you um are not doing good on science, yeah, you'll boost it, I guess. So if you're doing bad, you could get that. And if you are relying on other players, you're like, oh, they're gonna generate a lot of great scientists. I'm gonna get lots of random tech boosts. Then that's kind of weird. You want to rely on other people generating great scientists? That's very unusual. And the tech boost is random. Maybe if you could choose the tech boost, it would be better. Like in Civ 5, you can, when you get a free tech from Great Library, you get to choose which one you want. So you get to choose like an expensive one. Here, it's just random. That's not good. Also, you're building campuses next to a lot of mountains often because that's where you get good adjacencies. And if there's lots of hills around the mountains, then you don't even have an eligible place to place the Great Library because it has to be on flat land. So maybe you take a less optimal, maybe you get lucky and you have flatland, or you take a less optimal place for your campus in order to build the Great Library. That just seems anti-synergy. It does not seem very good. Okay, but with all that said, it gives one great scientist point per turn and one great writer point per turn, and it holds two great works of writing slots, which means we're going to talk about this old strat. Okay, Great Library. There was a strategy where you use this with Apadana, an oracle, and like a theater square district, and Pingala with the grants promotion and curators promotion for more great person points and extra tourism, and you could win really early culture victory by just pumping out great writers using a funny strat like this. It was so powerful, it got nerfed. And this is all before my time knowing about this strat and thinking about it. Uh, but you could still use Great Library for some sort of tourism strat like this. Because Oracle and Pingala and Great Library, you can multiply these great scientist points you're getting, this great writer points you're getting. Okay, you can do that. But again, like the great science points, it's like early great scientists are kind of underwhelming. But yeah, with some setup, you can make Great Library okay. Like, you can make a good wonder. Just if you don't want to do all that setup, also Great Library, Apadana, Oracle. Maybe in a single player game, you could figure out how to plan all that and do this. Multiplayer, it seems like you can't rely on like knowing how the AI likes prioritizing things. It's a lot less certain that you're gonna make this strat work to its full potential. So, Great Library. Oh, I put it in C tier. I just think there's better stuff you can do with your time. Better stuff. Okay. This is a lot of setup for something that you're hoping will give you like a pretty nice tourism, pretty nice culture generation, but you don't know if you're going to get it. So, all these reasons, like I'm this all this writing I've put here on this page, it makes it look like I'm a big hater of Great Library. I wanted to give it a lower score, but I have to try and be fair to it. I think you can make this wonder work in a good way. I just think it's very hard, very hard. Okay, Petra. Petra, this is the start of B tier. So, it gives +2 food, +2 gold, +1 production on all desert tiles for this city. Uh, that can include desert hills, desert floodplains. All right. And it needs the math tech. That's reasonable. You want math to get to education. And hopefully by around this time, you're going to start, hopefully, if you're getting more science, if you're getting more culture than you are getting science, maybe by the time you get around to building Petra, you will be transitioning to slotting in serfdom and going into the mid game, and then you can start scaling your science up. So the detour, like this quote unquote path towards mathematics, which could go to education, maybe that's good timing. Um, the thing about Petra is if you built it in like the middle of a billion desert tiles and you're like, I'm going to build Petra and get so much benefit from this. Well, your desert tiles usually don't have very good yields compared to grasslands or grassland hills, forests like that. Okay, that's not good. So, the less normal good tiles you have, the harder it is to have a good pace at building this wonder. Okay. Now, some civs really like, they benefit from desert tiles, and this will make a city very powerful. You have a really nice Petra city. And the tech requirement, again, it's reasonable. Um, it's situational, but it's pretty good. Like, it will make a bunch of useless desert tiles powerful. but you don't want your city to have too many desert tiles because then you probably will find it very slow to build this wonder, and then maybe the AI will beat you to it. But Petra's nice. Petra is a good wonder. If you can get it, that's great. Especially if you can build Petra in a place with a lot of desert hills, so then you can get lots of production out of those desert hills. Like, um, that would be wonderful and ideal. So with the right civ, the right kind of terrain balance between like having nice grassland and forests and hills, and then having a bunch of desert tiles that'll benefit from having Petra, you can make Petra good. You have to be thoughtful about your planning with it though. Mahabodhi Temple. I barely get this wonder, and you know what? I should get it more often. This is a great way of getting an injection of faith and improving your religion early. It costs about the same. I think it costs exactly the same as Jebel Barkal, 400 production. But you don't need to think very much about the placement. Oh, just put it in the woods next to a holy site. That's great. Uh, Now, this is a big detour away from feudalism. But if you're playing a faith game, going for theology, going to build temples early, that's a valid strat. You don't have to rush feudalism if you want to go for this kind of playstyle. Uh, Theology is also something you get if you want to rush for monarchy government, so you could go even further with it. Get a tier 2 government, get monarchy, which will help you boost castles, which might help if you're going bottom heavy on the science tree, maybe doing some military stuff there. Okay, so it could be a good strat. Two apostles, you can immediately upgrade your religion. You get all these extra beliefs that can help with early science generation or culture generation or money generation, depending on what you need, because the beliefs are pretty flexible. Um, and you can unlock a building. If you have lots of faith saved up, you could immediately buy religious buildings with this. So the more I think about Mahabodhi Temple, the more I think it is actually a pretty good wonder. It's just not usually something I do because I like going feudalism early. Even if I play a religious civ, I like going feudalism early. But I think this is a justifiable playstyle. Um, yeah, so you can get good early yields with your beliefs. You can get good buildings. Um, you have to be thoughtful about it. And then there's also 2 victory points, Diplo victory points. Who's winning with Diplo victory? In some AI games, yeah, you can do that. You have like a strat with ooh, I think Statue of Liberty or something. I'll have to think about it more as I make the rest of the tier list. But yeah, this if you were going for Diplo victory, you could do this. But really, you're doing this wonder for the apostles. 2 apostles, very powerful. If you've already got some apostles or something as well, then uh, maybe go spread your religion, get more yields. So like there's a lot of beliefs that say, oh, for every citizen that believes in this religion, then you get like science or culture or money or something. Or it might be like every city that believes the religion. Okay. Point is, apostles are good. If you're going for a faith game, this is a good wonder. Okay. One of the best early game injections of faith. It's like equivalent to around 1,000 faith or something like that. It's good. It's good. Top of B tier. Okay. Now all these other wonders are kind of outshone though by the big dogs. First of all, Colosseum. No one will be surprised to see me put Colosseum S tier. I think some people think it's overrated, and that's because I don't know, they don't like winning as much or winning as fast. I don't know. This is a reason to build entertainment complex early. Entertainment complexes by themselves, yeah, they're okay. Amenities, but it's you have to you if you build entertainment complex early, you can't build commercial hub early or harbor early or your holy site early. But entertainment complex, you place it in the right spot, you put the Colosseum, and you make sure you have cities planted that you'll benefit. The Colosseum will be 6 tiles away from all sorts of cities. you are going to get huge, huge, huge amenity value, even better than like Temple of Artemis. Okay, the AI rarely goes for it because you got to build the entertainment complex, you got to build the arena, and then you got to place the Colosseum. All right, there are simpler placement rules for other wonders. The AI just goes for those more easily. Okay, the 110 culture detour away from political philosophy to get games and recreation, totally worth it. If you plan your city placements well, you are going to get huge, 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 huge value from Colosseum. You're going to get, okay, +2 culture, okay, +2 amenities is already insane. We talked about amenities and how great they are. You know, they're going to help you grow your empire early. But then +2 culture. So that's like a monument in every city, like an additional monument in every city 6 tiles away. So early culture generation, you're going to get really good Colosseum yields. So instead of taking drama and poetry and building a culture building, the culture district, and then building like the amphitheater, okay, build Colosseum. All right, that's why you built this. Colosseum, really, really nice. Just so good for making your empire, the core of your empire, happy, so your future expansion is easier. And your amenities, right? Amenities go first to the unhappiest cities. So when you expand out, then if you have luxuries hooked up, if you're trading luxuries, then they make your further out cities happier. So then they will be more resistant to pressure. You can be a little more aggressive with your city placements against other players, other AI. Okay, Colosseum, really, really nice, really nice. I cannot understate how good this wonder is. It might deserve a tier of its own. And speaking of wonders that might deserve a tier of its own, Mausoleum at Halicarnassus. Okay, immense coastal yield improvement. Imagine a worker just going on a bunch of your tiles and like putting half a monument, half a library, half a shrine on a bunch of random coast tiles, all of them for a city. And great engineers are already very strong. Getting an additional charge on a great engineer for the rest of the game, it's so busted. Mausoleum at Halicarnassus, um, yeah, and you're already going defensive tactics to get feudalism, I hope. So the requirement, it's not a detour. This is something you're getting, right? And you the requirement is just, adjacency to harbor district, but it doesn't have the same, like, oh, it also has to be adjacent to the coast. Okay. Although you have to build it on a land tile. All right, so be a little careful with how you place your harbors. Make sure you have a nice spot to place Mausoleum at Halicarnassus. But like, I think the placement rule is easier. You don't even have to build the lighthouse first, unlike some wonders, like the Great Lighthouse. I mean, so truly, truly good yields, making your coastal tiles, which usually are not that good unless you have um, like a food tile there or a luxury tile there. You can make your coastal tiles really, really powerful. And just a nice coastal city will benefit so much from this. Really boost early science, early culture, um, faith too, right? Um, truly, truly amazing. But great engineers getting an extra charge for the rest of the game. That's where this wonder really shines. That's the reason you get this wonder. Everything else is just such a nice bonus. Okay, so um, yeah, that's the end of the presentation. If you disagree with any of my picks, then hopefully you will tell me in the comments about how much of a stinker I am, and I'll be back next with medieval. Maybe I'll go another era as well. I'm not sure, but until then, thanks for listening. Bye bye.